Hello, it is Lisa Cobb. This is Mindful Parenting. Today we're going to focus on active listening, and this is lesson 4 out of 6 in our Mindful Parenting series. Just as a reminder, last week we talked about reflective listening, just touched on it a little bit, and this is a reminder that when kids are elevated, or even when adults are elevated, when we are talking with them, they are 55% picking up on our facial expressions, 38% on our tone of voice, and only 7% of our words. So just reminding ourselves to be aware of all of our nonverbal communication as part of our active listening. Also, a reminder of the 3 parts of our brain that we teach in mindfulness. The amygdala, which is triggered by one of our 5 senses or what we're thinking about, and always asking if we're safe or if we're not safe. And if we don't feel safe, we feel like we need to fight, run, or hide. And our memories are stored in our hippocampus. So what we did last time and the associations that we make to all of those triggers are stored in our hippocampus. And when we are teaching kids to take a deep breath and to relax their body and to slow what is happening in their body physiologically so that they can connect with the smart part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, and we're not just telling them one more thing that we think we should do. Also, a reminder of the stress model of crisis, that all of our baseline behavior is different, and something happens and it triggers us and we become agitated. And when we become agitated, we can use some of our reflective statements to try to bring our kids back down to baseline and adults so that we can teach a new skill and process through what's going on. If we don't use our active listening, there's a good chance that we can escalate up into possible aggression, verbal or physical, and even a full-blown tantrum that involves violence, hurting self or others. So again, remembering that until we come back down to baseline, we can't teach kids anything and they aren't listening to us. We can avoid that conflict cycle by using our positive self-talk and validating their feelings, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Also managing our environment, giving choices sometimes and time to decide, redirecting to something else right then, appealing to something that they are interested in, or just dropping the expectation altogether. Those are all options that we have to defuse our child so that we can bring them back down to baseline, and then we can start investigating what they're feeling inside of them. Nonverbals can be triggers, so what kind of eye contact we're giving them, our body language, how close or far we are from them, keeping in mind our height differences, gender differences, and sometimes cultural differences too. So our job as parents is to help kids connect their feelings and their behavior. So I see that once again I have the word student in here because this works for how we can calm kids in the classroom too. So we're connecting with them and we're getting into their physical space issues. So if they're shorter than us, we're making ourselves smaller. We're not making ourselves bigger. We are mindful of using a quieter tone of voice. The more they escalate, the quieter our voice should become. We're listening for their feelings to try to find out what happened is secondary, and then we want to validate how they're feeling. And remember, we've talked about this plenty, the 4 questions that we ask ourselves. What am I feeling now? What does the young person want, feel, or need? How is the environment impacting them? And then how do I best respond? So these 4 questions, the more that you practice them, just go right through your mind every single time you hear your child start to get agitated. What am I feeling? What do they need? How's the environment impacting? And how do I best respond? And that's when we use our own personal coping strategies of taking a deep breath, calming ourselves. The more we practice, we can do it in seconds before we respond instead of react to our child. And listen to them. We want to reassure them that at that point they're not in trouble. We just want to hear their side of the story. We want to figure out how to take care of the situation in a positive way. And we want to understand why they are upset. Now, we're not going to say this right at the very beginning. We're going to know this for ourselves, okay? But as we practice through, they have to know there might be consequences for their behavior, but once they are calmed back down into baseline and you start talking about consequences, once you've validated and affirmed what they're feeling, drain off the emotion, make a plan for next time, then oftentimes they come up with consequences for themselves that actually hold a lot more power than us getting into those consequences with them. Really important that we stop and listen. So sometimes it's very difficult to stop and listen because we're busy people and we just kind of want to move them along, okay? We automatically want to go into parent mode and start solving the problem, okay? And remember that when kids come into the world, they are good, thoughtful, and caring people, okay? So they're trying to process everything that's happening in their environment, and we're co-regulating with them. We are teaching them how to respond to any type of agitation. Very important that as they are amped up, again, our voice is getting lower and we're also slowing down. So we're going to talk more slowly. Our movements are going to be more slowly. We're going to try to get face to face with them in a way that's neutral. We're going to talk less. We're going to allow some silence, and we're really going to look at what's happening with their body, what emotions they might be experiencing, what their tone of voice is, okay? So this is not the time to say, do not talk to me in that voice. You sit down right now and you tell me what's going on, okay? That's just going to elevate them even more. That's not teaching them how to regulate their emotions. That is teaching them that you feel that you are in charge and you are the boss and they need to comply with what you say, or somehow they're going to have consequences. And what that teaches them is that what they're feeling is not important. So we're going to talk to them all of the time about all different kinds of feelings that they have. Okay, so you might have charts in your own house. You might just notice all of the time, like, oh my gosh, the dog is really excited when he sees another dog walking by. How do people look when they are excited that somebody's coming to visit them? So you're practicing emotions all of the time, even when you aren't upset about anything. And it's really okay just to listen and reflect to them. A lot of times we fear that if they get angry or say hurtful things, that when we reflect and get them affirm their feelings, that somehow we're encouraging more of the same. And that is totally not true. Kids who feel like they're listened to and that we are empathetic of what they're experiencing are going to grow up to be more respectful and actually easier to discipline. Kids become oppositional because they feel like they're not being accepted or empathized with. So I want you to think of a person that you have a difficult time talking with. What are some of the things that that person does that makes you you feel unpleasant and them seem unpleasant to you? What are some of the same ways that parents or adults make children feel, in that we wouldn't want to hear what they have to say? So think about that person where you're always like, oh my gosh, I feel like anything I say to them, they make me feel stupid for it. They always, yeah, but there's this other side, and they're always trying to teach you something or correct you somehow, and then you're like, forget it. They don't even know what I'm really feeling inside, and they don't even really care. And they've made me feel stupid for feeling that way, so I'm not even going to tell them that again. Okay? So our kids feel that way too when we're not affirming their feelings. We may respond to a child like we're a know-it-all. We lecture them and give them advice and say that we're going to show them how to do something. What that tells kids is that they can't deal with their own problems, and that when we use statements like, if I were you, I would do this, or what you need to do is do this, we want to turn it around so that we're spending time draining off their emotion and then starting to talk to them about the situation, about what are some ideas that you have that you could do with this. Okay, and that doesn't mean that there isn't an exchange that might not go back and forth, but we can't solve all of their problems for them, even when they're little. Sometimes we come across like a judge, and make them feel guilty for the way that they're feeling, and we're right and they're wrong, and that there's a right way or a wrong way to handle things. And we might say something like, what did you do this time? You never do anything right. I thought we talked about this before. You said you weren't going to do that anymore. I told you not to hit your sister, yell at your sister. Whatever it is, it goes right to judging them and making them feel bad for what they've done. And all along the way, you're not saying that what they have done is right or wrong. You're just affirming their thoughts, their feelings, and you're not correcting them right now. If you try to correct them, then it just shuts them down. We might respond to our children by always trying to overcomfort them or always trying to console what they're feeling, make the problem disappear. And still with that, the child still feels misunderstood. So sometimes the consoler might say, oh, you'll forget about it tomorrow. Oh, it's just puppy love. You guys, it's just no big deal. Oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I thought it was a big deal too. It's not. We're just kind of discounting their feelings, and that tells them again, what I have to say to you, you make me feel stupid for, and so I'm not going to talk to you about it anymore. So we really want to focus and practice our reflective listening. And it shows them that we're listening. It shows them that we care. It shows them a way of trying to look at things from a different point of view. It's responding to the feelings that are behind their words. It's non-judgmental, okay? So it's okay for them to say, I hate them, it's stupid, I'm so mad, I'm never going to do this again, I'm never going to listen. So again, you're not saying that those behaviors are okay, but if you argue with them right then about what they can and can't say, slowly over time, they're going to shut down more and more and more. When they get back down to baseline, then you're going to address those things. They're going to be able to hear them, and then you can plan for what to do next time. So you're really not being judgmental, and you're not belittling them in any way. You're going to get in touch with what your child is feeling. You're going to, again, like we talked about the last couple of weeks, your own self-awareness. So you're going to be aware of their tone of voice, their posture, their facial expressions, really listening to the words that they're saying, watching their actions, okay? So sometimes we don't have to say anything. We can tell what they're feeling just by how they're responding to their environment. So think of this scenario. child comes in, they've drawn a picture of something that they drew at school, and they say, Mom, I have this picture to show you, and they put it down, and you say, wow, what a beautiful picture you drew today. And they say, well, I think it's dumb. And the mom says, no, it's great. Look at the pretty colors and the people that you drew. It's so nice. And they're like, Mom, it's dumb. I hate the drawing. Oh, don't say that. You don't hate the drawing. You're a good artist. So kind of being the consoler, right? Look at this nice picture you drew. You have so many pictures that you've drawn that are so nice. Mom, I told you it's terrible. I hate the drawing, and I'm never going to draw again. And usually at that point, they throw it down, they walk upstairs, they stomp upstairs, and you're just like, geez, how come they're so upset? I did everything right to say that their drawing is beautiful, okay? So in this conversation, what you taught the child is that their opinions and feelings don't matter. The opinions of others, you, are more important than theirs, that you don't listen, that talking about feelings is wrong and scary, and admitting faults or insecurities or vulnerabilities, so how they feel about the painting, is somehow wrong, that their self isn't real, important, or worthy, and the relationships are about being judged and you are found to be unworthy. Okay, so even when we think we're doing something great by building them up, if we're not truly listening to the feelings behind their words, we're totally discounting their humanhood. So conversations like this over time build a sense of shame and emotional immaturity because they feel like, why doesn't anybody listen to me or what I have to say? So another scenario, the mom says, looks like you have something there in your hand from school. Yeah, I drew a picture, but it's dumb. Oh, you think the painting isn't very good? Okay, so you think the painting isn't very good? Yeah, it sucks. I hate it. I hate drawing. Wow, you really, really don't like this picture. So again, you're just reflecting what they say. You're not adding on to it, just reflecting what they say. No, I hate it. Everybody draws better than me. Oh, you feel like everybody else in class can draw better than you. Then they're like, yeah, Miss Smith didn't even say that she liked my drawing. Oh, so you didn't feel good when Miss Smith ignored your drawing. It seems like you look angry. Well, maybe I am a little angry and maybe a little sad too. Okay, they'll correct you if you get the emotion wrong. So you're going through the exact same scenario, but all you're doing is reflecting back what they are saying to you. You're not trying to correct it. You're not trying to investigate more deeply into the big story that happened. You are just draining off their emotion. Noticing their thoughts and feelings, and noticing that they weren't overridden by the mom's opinions, okay? The conversation went deeper to the real source of their feelings, that others are better and that the teacher didn't even notice and that that was hurtful, and that these are normal feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth that we've all experienced as children. But when we're affirmed in them, then we drain off that emotion and we can really start to talk about what happened, and we can move forward from there. Reflective listening leads to conversation about the emotion. Okay, so even if you have to guess, try to describe what they're feeling, angry, sad, frustrated, happy, upset, they will correct you if you're wrong. Honor those emotions. Let the child see that it's okay to express and discuss the emotions. Stay calm. You are emotionally regulated during these conversations. You're modeling that calmness for them, and you are using appropriate facial expressions and tone that kind of models the emotions that you're labeling, or that they're labeling, and that you are working back and forth on, okay? So you're mirror neuroning them a little bit. You are giving them a little back what they're feeling, not just in your words, but in your body language and tone of voice too. It can seem that reflective listening might be boring to them and repetitive, but when we do it well, it leads to a whole lot of positive outcomes. The child feels heard and honored, and they're able to process their own feelings without the parents necessarily always giving the solutions and directions and opinions, and it leads them to be able to self-regulate and problem solve when we're not around. And learning these skills as a child carries into our adulthood forever. Emotions are recognized and validated as real and not frightening or embarrassing to discuss. The opinions are real and their self is honored and worthy. And they learn that they're not alone in their feelings. And when we feel alone, like nobody else feels them and what we're feeling is stupid and dumb and doesn't matter, that's frightening to us. And when we feel that somebody else is available to help us deal with our strong emotions, that leads to emotional safety, reduces stress, reduces anxiety, reduces depression. Okay, so we don't always have to have the answers. Okay, so you think about COVID right now. We don't know a lot of what's going to happen in the future, but if we just meet them where they are with their concerns, things that they're thinking about or heard, and you're just reflecting it back to them, that's going to calm them down. And simply by calming them down and being with them, it affirms that you are trustworthy and that what they're thinking and feeling is normal. Okay. They learn that relationships do have disagreements and strong emotions, but can be repaired. And we really need to be mindful not to project any of our own fears and guilt and concerns into a situation. And that the child gets to set the emotional tone, not us. And the child learns not to defer to others' needs and opinions automatically, like trying to please their parent and how they process through. And this improves their ability to be assertive and differentiate from their peers into childhood and into adulthood. The child is the focus, not the parent's emotional issues. So again, be mindful, were you thinking, wait, my child must be a good artist. My child must feel good about himself right now at every moment, or I've failed as a parent. I want to ensure that they're happy. And know that these underlying and unacknowledged beliefs and fears often get in the way of attuning with our kids, okay? So our own worldview based on how we were raised and the baggage that we're carrying around, we often lay onto our kids, okay? So be aware, mindful, present, noticing, is this my insecurity or is this their insecurity? Am I sharing my insecurity with them? Overall, your relationship will be improved because they'll feel safe and accepted rather than feeling unsafe and judged by you and other people. And the relationship becomes closer, and there's much more emotional intimacy that can happen. So, scenario, comes in, he throws down his books. I hate Mrs. Smith. Wow, it sounds like you're really angry with your teacher. You must have had a bad day. Tell me about it. So how does that kid feel different than if they came in, I hate Mrs. Smith. Whoa, 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 whoa. You're not going to walk into the house like that. Start being disrespectful towards your teacher. Take your shoes off. Put your stuff down. What's going on? You don't come in here and start yelling right away. Does that feel different than just simply saying, it sounds like you're really angry with your teacher? Yeah, I am angry with my teacher. I hate her because blah, blah, blah. Wow, you feel some really negative feelings towards her right now because this. Okay, so again, you're not excusing the behavior, you're just reflecting the behavior, draining off the emotion, affirming the feeling so that they come back down to baseline. Then you can start talking more about what happened, okay, all the way back to what was your last moment of calm, like when did everything start to go wrong? And then you start to piece it together and then you, oh, all right, so thank you for sharing that with me. And then you start to problem solve and maybe even role play, have a snack, get a drink of water, and then you can say, what else could you say besides I hate Mrs. Smith when you come in and you're really frustrated? But when you say that right when they're elevated, when we are our angriest, we are not connected to our prefrontal cortex, to our executive functioning. So adults think it's our job to tell kids what to do. Reflective listening is hard, especially with our kids. It keeps us from listening to what our kids are feeling. Our kids might have a hard time describing what they're feeling as well. Some kids just like have learned somehow just to suppress what they're feeling. Okay, if that's the case, we're not going to feel guilty about it. This is like all new. Remember last week I showed the slide about carrying the guilt around. Let go of your guilt. You can start from this point forward to work on this reflective listening, and everything can be repaired and move forward. Okay, reflective listening takes practice. So what we're going to do now in class is take some time to practice reflective listening. And as always, I want to end this video with heartfulness. I wish for you to be happy. I wish for you to be healthy. I wish for you to be safe. I wish for you to be peaceful. And I wish for you to have joy in your life. Thank you for spending time with me. See you next time.